Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Najwa Husseini with Azadi News. Burmese activist wins Civil Rights Award. Bangladesh for peaceful solution to Rohingya crisis, says Foreign Affairs. Human rights defender and democracy activist Naullah has been awarded the Civil Rights Defender of the Year Award 2020 according to the organization. She is a leading voice for human rights in Burma. Naullah has received the award for her exceptional perseverance in the fight against oppression and for her continued courage to stand up to those in power. Democracy activist Naullah is one of the most important human rights defenders in Burma. A grassroots activist for over 3 decades, she has faced grave risks and made immense personal sacrifices. Nevertheless, she has always stayed true to her cause, the struggle for democracy and human rights. Her deep experience and defiant cheerfulness have made her an invaluable source of guidance and strength for countless others, said the Board of Directors of Civil Rights Defenders in their motivation statement for the Civil Rights Defender of the Year Award 2020. For many years, Naullah stood side by side with Aung San Suu Kyi, who was then a well-respected icon of the movement for democracy and human rights in Burma. But when Aung San Suu Kyi began to abandon her guiding principles one after another in order to align herself with the narrative of the military, Naullah stood firm and continued to criticize the persecution of ethnic minorities, widespread land grabbing, and systematic violations of women's rights. To her, the continued struggle for democracy is the only option. She is now one of the few remaining voices who dares challenge her former friend and current leader of Burma, Aung San Suu Kyi. We have a government that does not see the importance, value, or need of protecting its citizens. We have people who need help from the system, but they are being ignored. Instead, their rights are being violated. We had hopes for the new government, but it has not turned out the way we thought. Under its watch, the problems have grown bigger. There are no institutions that help people like farmers, ethnic minorities, and young girls. That is why people like me has to fill that gap, said Naullah to civil rights defenders. Burma is a country that has been marked by armed conflicts for over half a century. Civil war and violent persecution of ethnic minorities have recently escalated in many parts of the country. In the western state of Arakan, violence has intensified significantly, while journalists and human rights defenders who are trying to report about the situation are increasingly forced or threatened into silence. Many who stand up against human rights violations have been sentenced to long prison terms. Naullah has been arrested more than 20 times and sentenced to several long prison terms. Still, she refuses to be silenced. She was among the first to openly and sharply criticize the violent persecution of the Rohingya that led to the expulsion of over 700,000 of the Muslim minority population in 2017. Racism against the Rohingya is widespread in Burma, even within the democracy movement, but Naullah is determined to be on the right side of history. Naullah is well known for her integrity and her courage to always hold corrupt leaders to account. Despite working in a country where dissidents are persecuted and human rights defenders are arbitrarily imprisoned, she always manages to find a way to overcome fear with courage and cheerfulness. Her personality and deep commitment have inspired generations of human rights defenders in Burma, said Anders L. Pettersson, Executive Director of Civil Rights Defenders. The policy of maintaining friendly and good neighborly relations has guided Bangladesh through difficult times with Burma, says the state minister. We hope to see the problem to be resolved permanently with the sustainable return of the Rohingyas to Myanmar, as expressed by our Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina at the UN General Assembly, he said on Sunday. He said Bangladesh enjoys the best of its relations with its largest neighbor, India, and it is the policy of friendly and good neighborly relations with neighbors that guided Bangladesh through difficult times with its neighbor, Burma. Shahriar mentioned that Rohingya influx from Burma into Bangladesh has created a humanitarian crisis and sourced the relations in recent times. BIISS Chairman Ambassador M. Fazlul Karim and its Director General, Major General MD.M.UI Bari, among others, spoke at the webinar. Hence, this remained Bangladesh's diplomatic strength, where Bangladesh engages as an active voice in various normative and policy-making initiatives. Bangladesh has maintained its success in promoting international peace and security through peacekeeping and peace-building activities under the pragmatic and dynamic leadership of Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, he said. In the coming days, the state minister said Bangladesh will continue to follow Banga Bandhu's footsteps in its peace-centric and sustainable development-focused approach in the international forum. Banga Bandhu believed in the collective power of Bengali nation and humanity. Amidst this global COVID-19 pandemic, whereas many of the nations are struggling to keep up their economic progression, Bangladesh is performing admirably, he said. This is today's news. To get more updates about Rohingya, subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the notification bell. Visit our website azadinews.org and follow our social media accounts. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.